Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, I hope you are all doing well. Welcome to this video presentation where I will be explaining an essential topic in computer science. But first of all, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Muhammad Emir Yusuf. I am a student from the Information System program at Universitas Sriwijaya. And in this video, I will explain some of the essential Linux commands that are commonly used for managing files, directories, and process within the Linux operating system. And let me give you a background about Linux. Linux is widely known for its stability, security, and flexibility, which is why it's commonly used in server, development environment, and even personal computer. However, to fully utilize Linux potential, we need to understand its command line interface. And in this session, I'll walk you through several key Linux commands and explain their function and show example of how they work. So let's start exploring. On the first subject, we will discuss about the directory structure. On this topic, there are three tasks that are assigned. The first are to create main directory, the second is to create subdirectory, and the last is to display the directories. Now let's focus ourselves on the first task, where this task is just to simply create the directories. Now, as you can see on my terminal, I will just use the make directory command to create the main directory name after myself and my student ID. The directory name, it will follow that format, and which will serve as the parent folder for all related files. After creating the main directory, we need to move into it using the cd or change directory command. This ensures the next command will be executed inside this folder. And in one line, we created three subdirectories: document, code, and archive. Using make directory with multiple folders name allow us to create all three folders in single command. And after creating the subdirectory, we check whether they were successfully created using the ls command. If successful, the output should list the three folders. And as you can see, the output is listing all the three folders, the three subdirectory, and then I'll use the tree command to display the directory structure in tree-like format. And as you can see, that is the result we want. Now let's move on to the file manipulation. And in this file manipulation, we have four tasks. First is to create the file name after identitas text, and to copy that file and rename it, and to move that file again to the code directory, and then the last is to display the content of the identitas backup text. But now we will have to focus on the first one, is to create the file name identitas text txt in the document directory containing the following information, in which there are my name, my student ID, and my study. Now, as you can see, we will be navigating the document directory and creating the new text file name identitas txt. Rather than leaving it empty, we will immediately populate it with personal detail, including, like I said, my name, my student ID, and my study program, using the echo command, echo with -e command, and then the inclusion of \n to ensure proper formatting, making the text appear on separate line for clarity. And then we will talk about the second task, is to copy the identitas txt file into the archive directory and rename it to identitas backup txt. Now, with the file now containing meaningful information, the next step is to create a backup. The user copies identitas txt from document to the archive directory using the cp command, ensuring that an identical version is stored safely in another location. After completing this, they return to the parent directory with cd dot and execute the tree command. The tree command will provide a clear hierarchical view of the directory structure, revealing the three primary folder, archive, document, and code, with identitas txt present in both archive and document. The user efficiently manage file by we will efficiently manage file by first navigating to the RCP directory and renaming it to identitas.txt to identitas backup.txt using the mv command. This renaming serves as a safeguard, ensuring that the original file is preserved as a backup. To verify the change, we will execute the ls command, confirming that the identitas backup.txt is now the only file in RCP. Now, we'll talk about the third task is to move the identitas.txt file to the code directory. Now, with the backup secure, we'll return the parent directory and move into document, where we relocate identitas.txt to the code directory. This action effectively empty the document folder, streamlining file organization. And to get a clear overview of updated directory structure, we will run the three commands, which visually confirm that identitas backup.txt reside in RCP, while identitas.txt has been successfully moved to the code. Now, let's move on to the final task of this topic is to display the content of the identitas backup text file using the appropriate command. Now, as a final verification step, we will re-enter RCP and use the cat or cat command to inspect the content of identitas backup.txt. The output reveals that the file still contains the expected personal details, including my name, my student ID, and my student program. Now, let's move on to the next topic is access permission setting. In this, we have three tasks that are assigned to us. First is to give the file owner access right to read and write. And meanwhile, the group may only read and other user may not access. And the second task is to change the ownership. And the third is to display file access permission and ownership. Now let's focus ourselves to the first task, where it is to give the file owner access right to read and write. Meanwhile, the group may only read and the other user may not access identitas backup text. Now, in this, we will execute a series of commands to control file permission and ownership for identitas backup text. The process will begin with modifying the file permission using chmod 640 identitas backup txt, where the numerical mode 640 grant the owner read and write permission, the group read only, and denies any access to others, meaning by the 0 number. This configuration ensures that the only file owner can modify it, while the group member can read its content, preventing unauthorized user from accessing or altering the file. Now let's move on to the second task is to change ownership of identitas backup text file to be owned by the root user and the staff group. Now, following this, we will attempt to change the file ownership by executing sudo chown root staff identitas backup txt, which successfully updated the file ownership. The use of sudo is essential in this case, as only superuser or the original owner can reassign file ownership. And then let's move on to the third task is to display file access permission and ownership information after change are made. Now, to confirm this change, we will execute ls-l identitas backup txt, which display the detailed file information. The output reveals that the file now has the correct permission, in which there are read, write, read, and then nothing, where read write allow to the owner or the root to read and modify the file, while the R grant the staff group read on the access and prevent all other user from interacting with the file. Additionally, the ownership section of the output confirms that root is now the file owner and the staff is the assigned group. By following this structured approach, the user enforces best practice in Linux file management. Now, let's move on to the next topic. symbolic link. In this topic, we have around 5 tests that are given to us. First is to create a file name reference name text containing the information above, and the second test is to create a symbolic link to reference name text with the name shortcut name text. And the third test is to display a list of files in a directory along with their attribute information to verify that the link has been created. And for the fourth test is to change the content of the reference name text file to dokumentasi telah diperoleh oleh nama mahasiswa. And then the final task is to show the content of shortcut name txt and to explain what happened to it. Now let's focus ourselves to the first task is to create a file name reference name text containing the text or the information in which I'll say ini adalah dokumentasi sistem operasi milik, which we will be using our name in this case and my ID. So as for this code, we'll perform a series of file operating in Linux terminal, including a file creation, content modification, symbolic linking, and verification. Now, the process begins with the command touch reference my student ID, which create an empty file name like that. And then the ls command is then executed to list the content of the directory, confirming that the file has been successfully created. Now, let's move on to the next task is to create a symbolic link to reference name text with the name shortcut name txt. Now, we will attempt to add content to the file using the echo command, and in this command we will write a description into the file, replacing any existing content to create a shortcut, a symbolic link in this case. To this file we will run ln -s, the first file, the reference with my student ID, and then shortcut with my student ID. This will establish a symbolic link named after a shortcut and with student ID pointing to the reference, allowing indirect access to the original file. Now, after that, we will focus on the third task is to display a list of files in the directory along with their attribute information to verify that the link has been created. Now, we will verify that the presence of the symbolic link using the ls-l command, which reveal that the shortcut with my student ID txt is symbolic link pointing to the reference with my student ID. Now, as you can see on the terminal, this is the output. Alright, now let's move to the next task is to change the content of the reference name txt file to dokumentasi telah diperoleh oleh nama mahasiswa. Now, to include that information, we will use the command echo and that text headed to the reference with my student ID txt, and this command replace the previous content with the new text. Alright, now for the final test is to show the content of the shortcut name txt, what happened to it, and let me explain. So finally, to verify the symbolic link correctly reflect the updated content, we will use cat or cat shortcut with my student ID txt, which display the updated content of reference. Now, this confirms that the symbolic link dynamically point to the latest version of the original file. And how the script is work, because Linux handles symbolic link dynamically. Touch create an empty file, and then echo write content, and ln-s create a shortcut pointing to the original file. Since symbolic link reference to the source file, any updates to the reference file are immediately reflected in the shortcut, ensuring a seamless access without a duplication. Now we will discuss the last topic, user mesh. In this topic, there are around 4 tasks in which they are assigned to us. The first is to check the default mesh, the second is to change, the third is to display, and fourth is to explain how changing the mesh affect the file. Now let's focus ourselves to the first task, where we are assigned to check the default umesh value on our system. For this task, we will use the command umesh0002, means the newly created files will have the default permission of 664, allowing both the owner and the group to read and write, while others have only read access. This setting is often used in collaborative environment where multiple users within the same group need access to share files. Now let's move on to the second task, is where we are assigned to change the umesh to 027 and create a new file called data nim.txt. Subsequently, we modified the umesh to 0027, which enforces a more restrictive permission setting, and in this new umesh value ensures that files are created with permission of 640 or write or read, write, read, and then dash, meaning only the owner has read and write access, the group has read access, and others have no access at all. This configuration is useful for securing sensitive files by preventing unauthorized users from even reading them. Now, after setting the umesh 0027, the user created a new file named data with my student ID tx using the touch command. Since touch only creates an empty file without modifying its content, the actual permission is determined by the current umesh setting. Now, after we fulfill the second task, we will head to the third task, in which we are to display the access permission of the data nim.txt file after it is created. Now, we will then list the file detail using ls-l, which confirm that the file permission have been set to read, write, read, and then dash, aligning perfectly with the expected result of the umesh 0027 configuration. And after that, we headed to the last task, in which we explain how changing the umesh affect the access permission of the newly created files. Okay, now in summary, this experiment highlights the critical role of umesh in defining the default security level for newly created file. By adjusting the umesh, user can control how much access others have to files without manually modifying permission each time. This shift from 002 to 0027 demonstrates a move from a more open collaborative setup to a more restrictive security-focused approach. And like that, from this demonstration, we can conclude that properly managing the file permission and ownership in Linux is crucial for maintaining data security and access control in multi-user environment. By mastering commands like umesh, cmod, chown, and symbolic link, we can enhance file organization, protect sensitive data, and ensure that only authorized users can access or modify critical information. I hope this discussion has provided valuable insight into Linux file management, and thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.